To the right of it, it says Old City, and there's a little yellow square. That's the Old City. The green line, that was the border between Jerusalem and Jordan from 48 to 67. And on the east side of the map, where it says Jerusalem, the green line was the municipal boundary. And then next to the W, you see a blue line, all right? That was the municipal boundary of Jerusalem on the western side of the city. Everybody with me? I'll take Shadow Desert. What you're seeing in the hills in the distance, kind of where I'm pointing, there are like two hills full of houses. That's Kfar Adumim. Find it on your map. All right, above these ones. And then below it, actually to the right, on the ridge, you see the red roofs and then some buildings above it? That's Ma'ale Adumim. That's the one I tried to show you from the other thing, which wasn't a roof. All right, and then not the closed houses. The closed houses is El Zaria. All right, that's Palestinian. And behind it, yeah, okay. So basing that, so between El Zaria and Kfar Adumim is that area in light blue called E1. And after, when was it? Recently, who was here? Not Kerry. Maybe it was Kerry. No, Obama. When Obama was here and talking about peace. So our reaction was we said, okay, we're going to start building there. Which the U.S. has stopped us from doing from pressure for many years already, and right now it's still frozen. Because what happens? Let's draw it out. Let's say I build an E1. What do? Look at the map. I cut the West Bank north-south. I make it very hard, i.e. impossible, for the Arab Palestinians living north of it to get to the south. So the Israelis say, okay, we'll build a tunnel so they can go in between and all of that. But many people feel that E1 is a very, very crucial area. You know, if that gets built, you're making a two-state solution possibly unviable. Now look at the other thing. See the white and red line all the way around? That's the plan for the barrier. All right, there are three major places the barrier does not follow the municipal boundary at all. The one is in the south that we can't see. It's where my hand is. It's off your map. The barrier would continue south to a place called Gush Etzion. It's now continuing here east to include Ma'ale Adumim. Ma'ale Adumim, the planned city limits is 57 square kilometers. Tel Aviv is 52. Okay? And the other place where it goes way out is up here, Givat Zev. So these are areas that go way out, and again, the question is, what is the rationale? Am I separating Palestinians and Jews here? Well, if I look below E1 towards Ma'ale Adumim, yes. And if I look up north at Givat Zev, what am I also doing if I do the plan? El Jib, Bir Natib, they've isolated them. How do they get in and out of their neighborhoods? All right? And further north, Kfar Aqba, Olandia, that's inside the Jerusalem municipality, but outside the wall. It's even more complicated. We're going to talk about that at the next stop. Right? Over here, this gives you an idea of, one, the desire on the Israeli part for continuous Jewish settlement. What, again, are the motivations? Is this a political move? Is this a security move? Look at the wall. Am I separating Palestinians and Jews? I'm using Jews, Israelis, okay? But look at the whole area from Ezayam south. The barrier is separating Palestinians from Palestinians. So there are definite challenges here. And if you look out here, I think that gives you a very good picture. Another thing that the municipality has done is they have declared about 9 different national parks, which means you can't build there. They claimed this whole slope to be a national park. All right? It's got nothing here. We got no special plans, no archaeology. About 4 months ago, the head of the park system said, yeah, this is not, we can't, yeah, it's not a national park. All right? It's like, it's a joke. All right? But there are 8 other ones all around that they've done that. Again, is there a plan here? And if it is, what is that plan? Does it limit the possibility for Palestinian growth in their neighborhoods? All right? And what's going on? What are the policies that are on the ground, and what is the impact for the people living here, and the bigger picture of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict? All right?
نهيب بالإخوة المواطنين بتقديم زكاة أموالهم في مسجد الفاروق لصالح مخيم اليرموك، حيث سنقوم بجمع التبرعات لصالح مخيم اليرموك.
Okay, so if you have your maps, guys, come up here so you can hear me if you want to hear me. If not, that's okay too. Find on your map Abu Dis. That's where we are. And you'll see the red and the blue line are together here. This is the municipal boundary and the barrier. But you'll notice there's Palestinians living here and there's Palestinians living there. So if the claim from the government that the separation wall was a barrier between Jews and Palestinians, that doesn't work here. So what's the point? What's the thing? And the question is this saying this is setting up my municipal boundary for future negotiation? Because here it doesn't follow that rule. All right? And the barrier is not straight. It cuts in over there, goes up there, comes around. All right? And it's again around different, excuse me, I just, all right?
You talk again about these areas that are like within municipal border.
All right. Okay. All right. So the other thing that I was asked were, find where it says East Talpiot and Nov Zion, where we just were. You see there's a green, it's like a little green circle. All right? Because this is going back to 1948, when they drew the green line with the green pencil, the army troops, Jordanian and Israeli, they didn't stop on a line. They stopped wherever they were. So there were pockets where I had Israelis here, Palestinians here, and a no man's land in the middle. So like where East Talpiot was kind of a no man's land. All right? And then there's another problem with the map is, I don't think they use them anymore. There's these big fat wax pencils that they used to use. All right? Now, I can sharpen it and the point always breaks. But depending how hard I press, I either get a thin line or a fat line. Well, if I'm using a 1 to 50,000 map, a fat line is 2 kilometers. So where is it? So there was when they drew the map, because they were in a Jeep, in the army, in the war. So when they drew the map, the green line wasn't exactly exact. And sometimes I had a gap between where the Jordanian troops are where mine were, so that's why we sometimes have those little circles. Now the other question is, when we have the red line north called Shuafat, which I'm trying to get to, which is why I'm rushing like a maniac here, and up there for our Aqba that I will talk about it, but I want to look there. But I wanted to stop here because I want you to turn around and look there. See the green dome? And behind it there's a building with no windows. That was built to be the Palestinian Authority Parliament. Why was it built there? Because it's the exact distance from the old city as the parliament is, the Israeli parliament, to the west from the old city. And Abu Dis, which is the neighborhood, is a central part to, the Palestinian life. And so that was, even in the late 90s, it was built, we were still thinking, we're going to do something here. It's never been used. It's a nice building. Okay? And again, this barrier is separating Palestinian and Palestinian. And again, what is the human, I think I've said all this already, but the human price that they're paying so that I can walk down the street and not worry about a bus blowing up. And again, there's 3 parts to that equation, and I'm going to tell the rest of that it's not just the wall. And it's not just Abu Mazen, it's also because we have incredible intelligence inside that we know. Now, some of that intelligence works sometimes, You want a work permit? You're going to tell me what's going on inside. All right? Have any of you seen the movie The Gatekeepers? Go see it. We are right now on Gilo. Go W underneath the W, it's Gilo. And we're looking south. And you can see the blue line and the red line pretty much match. Here, it does that. On the right side of the fence, that's Bethlehem and Beit Jala. And the left side of the fence, that's Gilo. Now, how does the fence look? I've got a fence. It's an electric sensitive fence. So if something goes on it, I know a bird landed on it or someone cut it. Next to it, I have a gravel road. Anyone comes through, I got footprints. Then I've got a dirt road. Then I've got another fence. I need at least 50 to 70 meters width to do that. When I'm in a populated area or a particularly difficult security area, then the wall goes up. 5% of the whole barrier is wall. Most of it is fence. All right? And I'm going to use the word barrier. Okay? And then there's an area called B that's shared. All right? That local things, if you want to change your building, you go to the Palestinians, but anything security, you come to the Israelis. So if you happen to live in the area that's under both controls, you're totally screwed because nothing gets done because bureaucracy is a disaster. All right? And then there's A, B, and C. And the idea was slowly, everyone's going to figure it out and we'll get to a permanent settlement in 1993. They say Jerusalem will be discussed with a permanent settlement. This was a process. As we know, Arafat dies, things change, and Arafat is replaced by Abu Mazen. There's democratic elections. And Abu Mazen understands that terror is not the way to go. Despite that, there's an enormous amount of tension. And in the year 2000, there's the Camp David Accords in June. And for the first time, Jerusalem's on the table. And the refugee problem. Barak does a poll, a survey. Barak is the Prime Minister of Israel. And realizes that the people of Israel are not real excited about the idea of giving land back and dividing Jerusalem. Oh, I forgot to mention, in 1980 we passed a law called the Jerusalem Law that basically says Jerusalem is united forever. I'm paraphrasing, you can get the right thing. And we can never give it to a strange body, in other words, none of this, unless we have a change in this law, which would be a majority in the Knesset, 120-member Knesset, plus a
Referendum.
Thank you. Public referendum that would also have majority rule. So that's like pretty clear. Okay, so that's already in the background. That's the head of many Israelis. And most Israelis don't know most of the facts that I'm going to be sharing with you today. Also, we passed a law shortly after the Six-Day War in 1967 that says we draw this blue line on the map, and everything inside that blue line is under Israeli law and under the city of Jerusalem. You understand what we're doing here? We're in the back door. We're legally, according to Israeli law, making this part of under Israeli territory, law and municipal boundaries, but I'm not using the word annexed. So I've taken this land. What am I going to do with the people that live here? All right, so that's another challenge that I'm going to get. The other thing I want you to notice is go back to the old city. You see that little yellow line? In 1967, that was Jordan, and 6 square kilometers around it. In other words, all of Jordanian Jerusalem was a total of 7 square kilometers, including the old city. Israeli Jerusalem was 26 square kilometers. Now look at the map. We seem to have taken under our control a bit more than the 7 kilometers. All right, we took 70 kilometers. What was the rationale? When we're on the other part of the city, we'll see it's hills. From a security point of view, we said we want the hilltops. We want to be able to protect the area around us. So we're taking that area, and that area from the old city up to the top of Mount of Olives is what they call the Holy Basin. If you've ever heard that term, that's the neighborhoods around the old city. Another way you want to make a peace talk to end is start talking about the Holy Basin. And So in 67, we changed the municipal boundary based on, and who makes the decision? Politicians and army guys. We don't have social workers in there. We don't have a demographic people in there saying, you know, there's people living here. Let's think about this. That wasn't part of the decision at that time, which then creates some very serious challenges. All right? But it does take care of a security need. All right? We just had a war. We want to take care of our security needs. All right? What happens to the people living in that area, i.e. people that used to be Jordanian citizens, they now become residents of of Jerusalem, but they're not citizens of Israel. At that time, there was 26% of the population was Palestinian. I'm talking just Jerusalem, and the rest was Jewish. And they figured, 26 we can absorb. It's okay, no problem. Today, 38% of the population of Jerusalem is Palestinian, and the rest is Jewish.
At the time when they offered citizenship?
There was a small window of time that you could have gone through procedures, and there's still, if you're willing to do like insane bureaucracy, you can still apply in some cases. It doesn't always happen, but there was a small window of time where people could, but also understand the mentality in 67, people didn't want to do that. Okay, for all sorts of political reasons.
Does the 26% also include the refugees that flew from the city?
I'm talking about the people that were living in the city at the time, not the people that left. The people that were living here in 67, that was the percentages at that time, right? And that's the second issue that you want to make a peace talk and talk about refugees, okay? So everybody understands that.